Three mere mortals discover their ability to create entire universes with their minds alone. Upon discovering their abilities, these three, gods if you will, join forces to create the Dark and Stormy Nights, a supercharged team of creatives with the aim of helping artists and writers around the world while combating the forces of boredom and mundanity. They are the Dark and Stormy Nights.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Dark and Stormy Nights. This is Loki.
And this is Tyr.
And you are you.
Yes, you are.
This week, I bring you my chapter. That's a little long, so I think we're going to get into it rather quickly. But do we have any announcements?
Nothing especially pressing. I have been horribly unproductive, so I apologize to anybody that I am currently supposed to be doing a book review for. I will get back to it. I'm sorry.
We have been overwhelmed, and Tyr especially, because she has been trying to crank out the novels for you. Don't forget to check out her page, Nova Drake Writer, on Twitter. And is there any place else they can find your stuff?
Well, if you go to my website, which is novadrake.vegvasirmedia.com, I have a new series coming out soon-ish, and I released the prequel for free. If you sign up for my newsletter, it should be probably the top post there right now. So
Is it still going to be free when this airs?
Oh yeah, it's going to stay up free for a while. I probably won't put it on Amazon until maybe the first couple of books are out. So in the series. So no, you can just go on over to my website and then just sign up for my newsletter, and you will get the link to the free book. And it's not like a blog post kind of thing. It's like gosh, I don't even know how many words it is, but it's like 170 pages, I think. So it's a decent size.
It's a pretty full book, yeah.
So yeah, if you want a free book, head on over there. Oh, it's like a young adult, new adult kind of urban fantasy series. So.
And don't forget, you can contribute to this show and the ideas of stories and what have you. On Reddit, we have our page r/Dark and Stormy Nights. Just r/Dark and Stormy Nights. And I will be putting up posts that relate to each episode. And you can chime in and give us your thoughts and ideas and critiques and what have you, and we may or may not include them in the story if we like them. So come on, write along with us and help us make this great. So do you want me to jump right into this?
Yeah, I mean, you wrote a lot, so let's go ahead and just get right into the chapter.
All right. I don't know if I'm going to break or not at some point.
Probably.
You think I should cut it in half?
I mean, wherever you feel is a good breaking point, but yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to read it straight through.
All right, so this is Chapter 4, How Bizarre. Eliot's head was swollen from the way the other hunters treated him and the way investigating a crime scene made him feel. He felt important, and Lee fed that feeling with a conversation that made him feel more like a partner than he'd ever felt. The two exit the crime scene with confidence, walking straight for the red Celica that they arrived in. Lee made conversation with Eliot, talking about how he wishes he was still young enough to slide across the hood like one of those old 70s movies. He gets in the car. Eliot doesn't really think about what he's doing and just gets in the car, not thinking about how he knows it's stolen. Instead, he engages in the conversation and imagining being two 70s detectives on the case. They laughed and joked and imagined being Starsky and Hutch or something of the sort. Right up till Eliot heard Rich screaming, "You son of a bitch," as Lee hotwired the car and peeled off, narrowly missing running over a strange-looking child at the side of the road. Rich almost caught them, running out after the car, narrowly missing grabbing hold of the exaggerated tail fin that had been installed on the car. Rich punched a light post as he gave up the chase, causing the light to flicker. Looking back at Rich, swearing and flipping them off, he notices a child that Lee nearly hit take on strange and demonic looks to him as the light flickered overhead. Eliot nearly choked on his words. What the fuck was that? We just stole Rick's car again, that's what. No, not that. I had a feeling you were going to do that from the time we got here. Then what? Was the look on his face perfect? No, that weird-looking kid back there. What kid? Never mind, it's probably nothing. Where are we going anyways? I told you I knew a guy. Yeah, okay. Well, I know a guy. Lee turns on the radio and steps on the gas. After the tail end of the commercial, the radio fritzes out and switches stations to play How Bizarre by OMC. With a huff, Lee reaches over and shuts off the radio. Lee rolls the window down and lights a cigarette. His vague attempt at courtesy has him leaning out the window while smoking. Eliot pulls his hood over his head and leans the seat way back. He puts his earphones in his ears and cranks up the clash. He closes his eyes and absorbs the song. He subtly shifts his body to the music until... I have no idea what I wrote here. He knows Lee said something. Oh, until he feels a gentle nudging at his side. That's what I was supposed to say. He knows Lee said something, but he couldn't make it out with his music turned up. Eliot makes a show of pulling his headphones out of his ear. What was that? I said we're here. Damn, that was fast. I didn't even finish my song. Yeah, well, this place is kind of the center of everything in this town. Eliot sits up and puts his head back to see that they were sitting in front of a very old, worn-down wallpaper store. By the looks of it, they still have the original samples in the windows. This, Eliot exclaims, this is where your guy is? Well, what the fuck do you think? They're actually going to advertise what it really is? Scare all the normies into an uproar so they grab their pitchforks and torches and come a-hollering doom down the mountain? That wouldn't be very smart, would it? Guess not. Right. Don't judge a book by its cover, kid. Eliot shoves his earphones in his pockets and pulls his hood back over his head, just in case anybody he knows sees him walking into the place. Lee flings the hazy old glass door open, tripping the bells hung overhead. Eliot uses his shoulder to catch the door, keeping his hands in his pockets. They walk straight past the aisles of old and tattered and faded wallpaper that nobody seems to have touched in ages. Row after row of hideous and outdated patterns, perfect for updating any swinger grotto. Bring your own sideburns and Dick Duster mustache. Eliot is pretty sure he's seen a couple of these in the short time he spent at the Huntsman. The men make a beeline for the counter, spanning the far end of the showroom. A short and heavy-set woman, armed with a beehive haircut and a Virginia Slim cigarette hanging out of her mouth, barred the path to the beaded curtain which marked the way to the back room. How do you do, sugar? Welcome to the Great Wallpaper Empire. The woman sounded like Dolly Parton had she been a 2-pack-a-day smoker for the last 20 years. Her overly exposed, enormous freckled bosoms heaved with each syllable. How can I help you with your wallpaper needs? She forced a hint of fake southern drawl into her words. Eliot looked around the room puzzled. Who the hell uses wallpaper, and how is this going to help the case? You know what? Lee began to inquire. I heard this was the best place to get a couple reams of Disco Dragon for my walls. Did I hear right? You sure did, sugar. Come on in back with me. I think we have it in overstock. My paper keeps jumping, sorry. The woman turned and held the beaded curtain to one side. Lee, who lifted the hinged countertop to the side and walked through, Eliot hesitantly followed. Once through into the dingy warehouse, Eliot found himself strangely surprised that the warehouse was actually just a warehouse. That's it. Row after row of wallpaper and wallpaper supplies and remnants. The only odd thing that Eliot noticed was the strange lady waddling past Lee and himself, and an oddly worn path in the floor, which seemed to dead end into a wall. The same path the odd lady followed right now. Eliot watched the strange woman as she rapidly waddled her way to the wall and then turned and waited for Lee and himself to catch up. Once at the wall, the woman pressed her hand against it, which glowed orange light, and then the bricks separated at the seams, and a freight elevator lifted into place. It was loud and rickety. The yellow paint that covered most of its surfaces has been worn and beaten and scratched away to reveal the metal underneath. Not iron or steel, but metal of some sort. Eliot follows Lee onto the elevator, Lee reaches past Eliot and hands the old woman a coin. The woman bites the coin, revealing a secondary row of teeth as she opens her mouth wide. She winks at Lee and then looks over at Eliot and says, "Mind the drop," and lets out a hideous, raspy laugh. Before Eliot can process the sentence and say the word, "What?" the elevator drops at nauseating speed. Eliot scrambles to look at Lee for direction, only to discover that Lee, at some point, strapped himself to a harness and grabbed a strap hanging from the ceiling above. With a screech and a rattle and some sudden repetitive clicking and grinding, the descent of the elevator suddenly slows. The smell of burning rubber and oil did not escape Eliot. He found himself so confused. What was real? What was magic? What is the difference? His head was reeling, but worse yet, so is his stomach, and he wasn't sure he was going to be able to keep what little he had eaten today down. Once he got to his feet, he stood up and hunched over, trying to decide whether to heave or not. Lee unhooked himself from the harness, pat Eliot on the back as he passed him, and stepped off the elevator. "Come on, kid, you better hurry before it heads back up." Eliot took 2 lurching steps forward, just barely getting off the elevator, and hunched back over. Again, as the elevator zipped away behind him with a screech, knocking him slightly off balance with the gale it forced from behind him. That was poorly written. Eliot heaved, but successfully held back his sickness. The dizziness subsided, and Eliot forced himself to stand erect. Before him was the oddest and most exciting sight he could think of. A sparkling display reading "Welcome to the Bizarre" floated in the air before him. He inspected the sight and could find no origin. "It's a cantrip, kid. Fool's magic. Children can do it," Lee spoke, almost maliciously, trying to spoil Eliot's amazement. "Can you do it?" "No, hunters ain't allowed to learn magic." "Well, then don't be a..." Eliot begins to have a full mental breakdown as he spots a humanoid tiger just feet from where he and Lee are standing. Are you, Khajiit have wares?" The humanoid tiger instantly dons a full-on look of disgust. "I am a magic Rakshasa. I will have you know. We are great, powerful demons, you racist filth." I'm so sorry, sir. I didn't know." "He's a dick. Don't be sorry," Lee chimes in as he guides Eliot away from the Rakshasa. "Hey, fuck you, Lee. Not a chance, freak." Eliot averts his gaze in embarrassment and begins to take in the rest of the bazaar. The place is massive. It must sprawl on under half the city or more. There are beings of all sorts down here, and Eliot suddenly realizes that something is odd. "Hey, Lee, how come I can suddenly see everything as it is here?" "Because glamours aren't required in this space. Topside, they need to hide their true form from you. Down here, not so much." "Huh," Eliot grunts to himself. Lee marches through the bazaar with purpose, almost losing Eliot several times as he is mesmerized by all the strange beings and wares, the sights, sounds, and smells he has never seen before and may never see again. Eliot is completely overwhelmed. Lee grabs Eliot by the sleeve and drags him along for a moment. "Keep up, kid. I don't want to lose you down here. Some of these folks ain't so friendly." Lee hollers back at Eliot as they pass a hideous octopus-like creature who caresses Eliot's face a moment with its tentacles, filling his head with dozens of images he doesn't understand. Eliot becomes nauseous again, and his excitement fades. "We are almost there. Petrie, my boy. How are you?" Lee seems to exhale the words. Eliot rolls up onto his toes as Lee stops abruptly, face to face with what looks like a man in a leather hazmat suit. The man's face indistinguishable through the large helmet and fogged over diving bell-like glass ports. "Lee, what brings you to the bazaar?" the hazmat suit inquired nervously. Come on, Petrie. I'm not here to shake you down for nothing but your brains today. Stop calling me that. My name is Pete. Yeah, anyways. I needs to pick your brains. Come on. Come on, Lee. It's peak busy hours. Then work fast. I need your help identifying what could be tough enough to take down a fucking sorcerer and his goons, but leave little ass bites and claw marks and shit. Whoa, hold on, what? One of the sorcerers are dead? Focus, Pete. What could have done this? All right, Lee, but I want the whole story when you figure all this out. This is too good not to scoop. Tell me everything you know, and I will tell you what I think it might be. All right, let's see. Definitely dark magic, possibly blood magic. Blood magic, are you sure it's Fae? Yeah, except, but let's see. Lee flips through his a few notes he took. Little bite marks. Possibly adolescent Fae, immature infernals, kobolds? One of the others said cat shifters. Lee starts to chuckle as he spoke. But then Lee and Pete look at each other as they both spoke simultaneously. No claw marks. Pete tried to read Lee's notes as he became anxious with anticipation. Oh, Lee exclaimed. It had an understanding of magic. It was the magic it was up against. Golems, wards, etc. And how did this disable them? Really? Pete mumbles inquisitively. I think it bled some kind of black ooze. Black ooze? Are you sure it was alive? Or maybe it was a magical infection. It also seems to have an aversion to iron. Okay, well that brings me back to Fae. I'm going to say they were probably small Fae, possibly controlled by magic or possessing a magic infection of some sort. Bring me back tissue samples and I can analyze them more for you. Thanks, Pete. You seen the lost one today? Pete shivers and lets out a strange gurgling noise. Ugh, yuck, yeah. He's back in the catacombs. All right, we'll break there.
Okay, cool.
Ooh,
Do you want to discuss for a minute, or do you want to go to break and come back?
How far in are we?
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's find out. I should have had this on. Oh, yeah, we can take a break and come back.
Okay, sounds good.
Why my drippings will go?
Because you were listening to the Dark and Stormy Nights podcast on iTunes, Google Play Music, or Podbean.
Okay, we're back with the second half of this. I guess we'll critique it at the end, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I only had the one comment about where it picked up in the beginning, overlapping a little bit, but I mean, that's seriously, we just tweak it a little, and it's fine.
Adding a couple of, I guess, some details that maybe...
Right. Yeah, I mean, really, all we would need to do is just make it to where they're already in the car, and it'll be fine. You know,
Yeah.
like the getting into the car is overlap, but otherwise, yeah, I have no comments other than that.
Okay, so here's the second half. I'll tell him you said hi. Don't. Lee waves through the chaos of the bazaar, weaves through the chaos of the bazaar like a needle through fabric, disappearing through layer after layer. Eliot struggles to keep up. He finds himself shoving and pushing his way through, trying to keep watch for Lee's tattered mane of gray hair layered over his black jacket. They approach a section of the bazaar under brick archways. Eliot finally gets free of the crowd. Under the archways, fabric hangs from the ceiling and walls here. There are less creatures here, but the feeling is more ominous. Eliot gets nervous as he catches up with Lee. Eliot is startled as a black mass he mistook as a shadow comes to life and moves on him. Lee wheels around and catches the shadow with a gloved hand. Come on now. You know that it's against the rules for you to move on my property like that. Like 100 voices speaking in chorus, the shadow replies, I was unaware it was yours. Bullshit. It is done. Let's forget it, Hunter. Oh, but I can't. Where's your slave? Eliot is startled when he notices a man in an expensive-looking business suit just past the next row of semi-opaque fabric watching them. What do you want of my master, Lee? Ah, I knew you wouldn't be far, you pathetic fuck. No need for insults. Get what you want and be on your way before the master loses his patience. Lee stalls a moment as a smirk grows across his face. He's uncomfortable because he knows I hold all the cards. Ain't that right? Lee taps his breast pocket as he draws his gaze from the slave to the living shadow. The shadow spreads itself out, forming wings of flowing darkness, and from the depths of the black, 2 glowing eyes, which glared back. The master wishes you to make your request or leave, the slave demands. All right, slave. I need you to identify this. The slave steps through the fabric. Eliot stares at its now visible collar and chains. The slave looks at Eliot a moment and then down at the sketch of the symbol. Good thing you are such a shit artist. It would be a shame to hurt yourself dabbling in such magics. But I thought, Eliot begins to question, but Lee makes a motion with his hand, signaling Eliot to shut up. Eliot lets his protest die in the thick air. I see your slave is well trained also. What is the symbol, slave? It is something dark, old, and demonic, an evocation of some sort. Anything else? That is all I know without searching the ancient texts, and that could take days. That's enough then. Good job, slave. Slave turns to the shadow. Is tribute satisfied, master? The shadow responds by shrinking back down into its previous form and blending back in with the shadows of the catacombs. The master wishes you to leave now. With pleasure, Lee responds. As he turns back towards the bazaar a moment and looks around, he closes his eyes and smells the air. She's close, he exclaims. Who? Eliot asks. Come on, kid, try to keep up this time. Eliot runs to keep up with Lee as he dodges the old brick pillars of the catacombs, winding past strange booths, offering odd delights Eliot had never seen before. Things that sparkled, things that shrieked, things that tried to lure him in. But Eliot kept his focus on Lee, and it paid off. Lee led him to a small makeshift grotto protected by a pair of guards in all-black clothing, armed with scimitars. The fabric of the grotto danced and swayed as if moved by an unfelt breeze. Cherry blossom incense filled the air, and something behind the sheer silk danced with the grace of a predator. The shadow looked human, but instead of legs, it balanced atop a snake's tail. The guards never moved from their position as Lee slowly approached the grotto. Zana, Lee said with most respect Eliot had ever heard him use. The figure stopped dancing and quickly spun about to face Lee. The creature slowly pushed through the fabric until the face of a beautiful woman of Middle Eastern descent appeared. Eliot's heart sank back into place as his supernatural expectations were slowly quashed. The woman stepped out from behind the fabric wall. Eliot thought about how she may be the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Lee, Zana responded, her accent thick, but her voice almost musical. Eliot couldn't take his eyes off of her. He was mesmerized by her. Zana, I need your help. Of course, Lee. If it is in my power, I will aid you. Lee pulls the baggie of black ash from his pocket and holds it out to her. I need to know what this is. Come on, we will find out together. She enters her grotto through the cloth and reassumes the reforms the form previously seen as she does. Lee follows, but Eliot tries, and the guards cross their swords and bar his passage. Lee, Eliot pleads, it's best if you wait out there, kid. Eliot is unnaturally angry about the response and visibly pouts. Inside the grotto, flashes of sparkling light and strange smells give visions of magic within. Lee and Zana speak too quiet for Eliot to hear, which makes him angrier. Eliot paces in front of the grotto, and after several minutes, Lee appears, returning the remainder of the ash to his pocket. He puts a hand on Eliot's chest. One more stop, kid. Well, what was it? Eliot demands in angry tones. Calm down, kid. You're under her spell. It'll fade off soon enough. Your anger is unnatural. Eliot feels confused. Anyway, it's ash. We knew that much. Yeah, but it's changeling ash, and it has remnants of blood magic in it. What does that mean? Don't know yet, but that is why we're making this stop. In a far corner of the bazaar, there sits a broken red fortune-telling machine. In an old carnival font, the top of the box reads, "The Astounding Esmeralda." Inside is an animatronic fortune-teller woman made to look to be in her 50s, wearing a red cloak and a blue head wrap with a gold pin made to look like an eye. The machine sat dark, and Lee pulled a large gold coin from his pocket and dropped it into the slot. The fortune-telling machine sprung to life with carnival organ sounds and pulsing lights. The fortune-teller raises its arms and waves them around as tarot cards seem to float about inside the box. "Welcome, welcome, I am the astounding Esmeralda. I see your stars. The Norns have spoken. I can see your fate. Come and ask me your fortune." "This is our stop, a fortune-telling machine," Eliot says, sapped of enthusiasm. "You're seriously going to question this after everything you've seen, kid?" Lee says, looking over his shoulder. Eliot blushes in embarrassment. Lee turns back to the machine and says, "I need info, not a fortune." "Come on, Lee. Let me do your fortune. Your death is a good one." "Maybe next time, Ezzy. Today, I need info." "Okay, Lee, what do you have?" Lee holds the pouch of ash up to the window of the old fortune-telling machine. "Put it in the slot on the side." Lee bends sideways at the waist and spotting the brass door. The door squeaks as he loads the ash into the slot, and then the door smacks shut as he releases. The animatronic woman inside the box closes her eyes and puts her fingers to her temples. The lights in the box dim, and the tarot cards arrange themselves in front of her. Esmeralda speaks solemnly. "I see a horror conducted by powerful men. I see betrayal, an old magical plague enacted on the Fae to control the number in the human world. In 1918, the Combine created a mystical plague to kill off the changelings in the human world as a form of population control. Not all of the council were for it, but today one remain in the human world." The lights in the box come back on, and Esmeralda opens her eyes and puts her hands back down on the cards. "Is this what you were looking for?" "Almost, Ezzy. Who remains? Who's the next target?" The internal clockwork of the box can be heard, and then a red light turns on at the top of the box with the sound of a bell, and a manila card drops out of a slot on the front of the machine. Lee snatches the card and looks at it. The box returns to darkness. Eliot notices the plug laying unplugged behind the machine. "Well," Eliot inquires. "Well, next we take you home and see if the coast is clear." Eliot follows Lee back to the elevator, his head spinning from all he has seen today. How could he possibly return to a normal life now? All he wanted to do was spend a few days down here shopping and taking it all in. Eliot played back the events in his head all the way to his place. Lee pulled up to his front door to let him out, but Eliot sat there unaware of his surroundings. "Hey kid, you okay?" "Huh?" Eliot grunted as he startled back to life and took stock of his surroundings. "Wow, that was fast. When did we get here?" "Still unpacking everything you saw?" Yeah, I guess." "Well, you're home now. Go grab a beer and decompress." "Yeah, sure thing," Eliot replied as he dragged himself out of the red Celica like a zombie. He made his way to the door and grabbed the handle as Gary came running around the corner and grabbed Eliot's arm, throwing him back towards the car and diving on top of him. The pizza place erupted into flames as the door swung open. Only then did Lee spot the magic trigger. "Shit," Lee grumbles as he hopped out of the car and scooped up Gary and Eliot into the passenger side. Gary moved fast, but he and Lee had to work to get Eliot, who was now in a state of confused panic. "No turning back now, kid." Eliot just howled in emotional breakdown as Lee drove them back to safety. This is the end.
Okay, that was good. I really like the fortune-telling machine.
Yeah? Did it do good with Esmeralda?
Yeah, that was really good. let's see. What was the snake woman? She made him angry?
No. Okay. So she is Dragon Lady Yanti.
Okay. Is it like an infatuation thing or
yeah,
something?
he was
Okay.
he was falling in love with her and getting pissed off that he was being shunned.
I see. Okay. And then I felt like I had another question, but I can't remember what it is now.
And then so the shadow thing was a demon and it's human
Right.
slave.
Right. Yeah,
And-
that was cool.
And the alchemist in the suit.
Okay. Yeah, I felt like I had another question. But I
It'd be
can't.
nice to come back down here, and I think we will probably come back down here at some point.
Oh,
and
for
explore
sure.
the
It's
bazaar.
way too cool to like only have in one scene. Okay. And then Gary was stalking the pizza place for Lee?
Yeah, he was just kind of he was
Being nosy?
Yeah, he was watching out,
Okay.
and
Or maybe stalking Lee a little bit or something.
he's trying to get brownie points.
Right.
So
Okay, so he knew about that going off before it happened. And I really like the wallpaper clerk. That was funny.
now I know this will probably need reworked, but I was already at 10.5 pages, and I was afraid the show would go way over.
Right.
If I went to
Oh, that was what I was going to ask. So Esmeralda mentions 2, no 1 sorcerers. I'm assuming because 1 was killed, right?
Right.
So you only want to have 1 more target here?
From this plague.
Right.
So we discussed this a few times. The children aren't the only thing that this thing raises. Once Lee figures them out,
Mhm.
it's going to raise something else. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. That's actually not bad because then from there we're going on to, okay, so the motive isn't directly related to the Fae children.
Right.
The motive is that they're going after the sorcerers in general.
And they're using their crimes against them.
Mhm.
So after they take out the kids,
Mhm.
maybe it raises a couple witches or whatever like that were taken out by the Combine at one point.
Right. Well, we had also mentioned the possibility of somebody who was put in an insane asylum by one of the
sure.
sorcerers.
I mean, yeah, we could.
One of the asylums in the area or something.
But the whole point is, yeah,
Or
that
died in an asylum.
that they're paying, they're using their crimes
Right,
against
right.
them. So yeah, it doesn't matter which we use as long as
Mhm.
they, it's something they did that's
Right.
being used back against them.
Right. Okay. Okay. And then probably from there that would reveal the fact that it's the Bodak and not the children. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
From there we'll go from the Bodak
A little too coincidental.
to Annalise or whatever we named her.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what do you think? Good?
Yeah, I liked it. I really liked the market. I love the fortune teller box. The demon with his slave is interesting. And then the first one that he ran into, Pete.
Yeah, he keeps calling him Petri, like Petri dish,
Right.
but he does not like that.
Right. Okay. And then what was he?
I didn't give him away. He's in the suit. You can't see him. I didn't tell you what he is.
He's
We
just
can-
the diver suit.
We can reveal that later if we want to.
Okay, cool.
But I see him as the victim of a mystical accident, and he's using the suit to,
Stay together
yeah,
or be tangible.
right, or protect him against the outside world or whatever. We can
Okay.
kind of deal with that later.
All right.
But he's skilled in alchemy, is what I felt. So
Oh, okay. I dig it. Yeah. No, I like the whole scene. I like how Eliot was kind of infatuated by the whole thing, and
wouldn't you be?
well, of course.
I mean, a little
Um,
bit scared, yes.
Yeah.
Because there's
So I
much
think that's
weirdness.
kind of like it really was a great way to pull Eliot into this world even more.
And, right, and I mean that's why I felt like by the end of it, he'd kind of be remiss to let it go, because
Correct. And then so yeah, I really think that you accomplished that goal. Like it kind of pulled him in, and he's kind of like, this is fascinating, And then in the end, it was, well, there's no turning back now,
Right.
Because his old life blows up before his eyes.
Now the question is, how deep does Eliot go into it,
Mhm.
being that it's the only home he has left now?
Right. This is all. Yeah. This is it.
Right.
Everything else is gone. So his home, his job, it's all, and he doesn't even know if he has that little piece of non-family left.
Right. Yeah.
So-
but he knows he can go this direction and
Right.
have a job,
And he's already being pulled in, and it's already gotten his attention.
and it's
so-
already much more exciting than what he had going on.
right.
And he
yeah,
knows
like,
there's
how
magical
do you
cocaine.
how do you go back to delivering pizzas after that?
Right.
You know.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think that this absolutely accomplished what it needed to accomplish.
Cool. All right. Any other comments, ideas?
No, I think we're good.
So we're going to come back next time with a planning episode for chapter 5, correct?
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, then we will see you next week. Don't forget to go to the Dark Stormy K1 on Twitter, or r/Dark and Stormy Nights on Reddit, or go visit Big Bizarre Media, where we have our website for the Dark and Stormy Nights. And check out Tears' page at Nova Drake Writer on Twitter, and go buy her books. She will love you for that. All right. We'll see you next time.